Welcome to This Week in Pulling, the show that brings you all the action from the world of tractor and truck pulling. I'm Dan Mayer, joined by Jeremy and Miles Krieger, and each week we'll dive into the latest highlights, breaking news, and behind-the-scenes stories from the sport we all love. From upcoming events, standout performances, and the rich history that shaped pulling into what it is today, we've got you covered. So buckle up, This Week in Pulling starts now.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. Episode number 21 of This Week in Pulling. Guys, what's going on?
Hi, Dan. Good afternoon, evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, and I hope you are enjoying a day or two of break since you've kind of been on a wild horse in terms of pulling for the last week or 10 days.
It's been a little busy, but it's been fun. The weather was nice. I can't complain about the weather. The weather has officially broke up in northern Iowa, and it was a gorgeous weekend. And actually had to find a sweatshirt, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I wore a sweatshirt pretty well the whole weekend at the Indiana State Fair, so I was chilly plenty of times, but enjoyed watching the stream. You did a fantastic job as usual on the call, and kudos to the folks at Rockwell for making the most of the Thursday evening rain and trying to make that event happen for the people that were there and give all the competitors a shot. So, you see how much dirt they really peeled off of that and the layers that they brought back. It was, the fact that they had a surface at all to play on was pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, dirt that they actually have never used before. It, kind of down so far deep that they never have worked with it. But Miles, how'd the fair go? How'd the state fair go with the kids?
Well, I'll be honest with you. It was, we went in with some pretty high hopes. We didn't quite get where we were hoping to be. But she did a really nice job. So right now, Landry is my only one that can show based off of age. And, so she was the winner of her showmanship division, for the breed, which was a pretty neat deal and always a great accomplishment. And then we had a weather that was a south down weather that we got from a gentleman in Ohio that we were incredibly hopeful that he might make it to the Coliseum and be a part of the champion drive. And he ended up second in his class, just outside of where we hoped to be, obviously. And it's hard to make it to the dirt there at Indiana State Fair. It's just incredibly competitive and very, very challenging. And so we came home pretty disappointed, but I will tell you that it wasn't for lack of effort on my wife's part. It certainly wasn't for lack of effort on my kids' part. And now we just go back and regroup, and we'll try again with another weather next year and see what happens, I guess.
Now, how does that work? Is it just from folks from Indiana, or is it from all over the country, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so Indiana has an open show as well, but this is actually for junior 4-H members that are in any of the state counties. And so this past weekend was the market show, the weather show, which is males that have been castrated. And then this week, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning we leave and we'll be back up at the fairgrounds for 3 more days of showing, starting Thursday with showmanship and Friday with the actual U show, and it's a 2-day U show. We'll see what happens there, and we're taking 6 U's up with the hope of, being competitive. I don't know if we've got one that's going to make it to the champion drive, but we'll do our best, and Landry will get out and present her sheep as well as she can, and we'll just see what happens. So there were about 700 weathers there, very competitive. I mean, it's one of the toughest, deepest state fairs in the country every year. So it is just very, very, very challenging.
Sure.
So now you got this week. You got to do the same thing. You didn't have to wait in line for 10 hours though today, right?
I didn't this time. We have a sweet friend who is kind of assisting us. Let's say this time with that, and so I'm actually here. We're getting caught up. Tomorrow is first day of school for our kids here at Bar Eve, and so we're prepping for that. And we had a softball tryout last night, and all sorts of chaos just cooking around here. Time trial and cross country over the weekend, and just lots of things going. So we're trying to stay atop of it all right now. It's the season.
Gotcha. Well, going back to the Rockwell event, Tim Nearing and his group out there, the Lions Club, what a great event. My first time out there, and just amazing what they have built out there. They started, I think he told me, with 10 acres, and now they just expanded. And actually, they ran out of pit space this year. First time that they have actually run out of pit space, and they kind of parked those in the regular parking lot. I guess that's a good problem to have.
Sure.
I think Ned had told me, Ned Walliser had told me they were over 500 some hooks for the weekend. I never really got to count them there, but that's what he had said. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive numbers there for that event, and, top notch facility. They've got it laid out, pretty much like any other facility that, the way that everything kind of flows through there with the pit parking and everything. It flowed really well. And just, I mean, the crowds were amazing for, all three sessions, which was, very good to see, because there's really not a whole lot going on in that area. And that's what, Tim had said, talking to him. And, I was about 20 minutes north there in Mason City, the biggest town close to that. And there really wasn't much around. He says, a lot of people just bring your campers out and have a good time. And, so really it's not one of those where you go during the day and, do this, do that. It's kind of, you come for the pull and you hang out and have a good time. So it was pretty cool.
Now, are we categorically calling this show a super national now?
I'm not sure how that actually, because they had all the classes there. So I don't know if like super national, does that involve the purse? I don't know how that, because I mean, every class was there. So, I mean, it wasn't like we were short on anything. So I don't know. I think that has to do with purse. I think I'm not 100%, but I'm sure somebody can fill us in on that. But which leads me to my next question. Now I'm gonna poll you guys this, because I was asked this or told this a bunch of times during the weekend. Is it time for professional pulling to get somebody in there and make sure these tracks are good to go every week?
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I think that's fair.
I think every organization that is a national level organization should have a full-time track builder on their staff.
A dirt guy.
I think there's 3 layers to it.
Okay.
I think the first layer is they need to be there to check the site before there's ever a contract signed. That is the first layer of it. Is, okay, can we get rigs in and out of this facility? What's the track surface like? Are there rocks in it? Are we going to destroy a brand new set of tires? Those sorts of things. And then the next step is from there, what's the prep time going to look like, and what all do we have to do? And I mean that from the sake of, is this its own devoted pulling track, or does it have other things that are happening to it? Are we having a demo derby the night before, or what other aspects of utilization are happening? And then number 3, there's got to be somebody there to oversee the entire process from the very first cut until to the completion of when that thing's rolled in and packed in, and how much moisture goes in it, and are we putting moisture on throughout the context of the pull? Are we not? Who's making that decision? That was one of the things I saw at a hook earlier this year. Was there were times where we were putting water on the track, and there were times where we weren't. Well, that kind of changes the trajectory of the track for one hook to the next. Is that a competitive advantage? Is that unfair? How do you do that? Well, if you're not putting water on for the 5th tractor, but you put water on for the 25th tractor, how's that work? And so there's a lot of debate and discussion about it, but I am fully on board and supportive of the idea that there needs to be a devoted track person. I think when the competitors are spending the amount of money that they are and investing the time that they are to develop the horsepower and the aspects that they are, that there needs to be somebody who's going to help them with that.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to mention any names, but there was quite a, I'd say probably 5-6 pullers that have, you're telling the announcer, not like the announcer can, work magic or nothing, but, they kind of, and asked me, hey, why don't we have, and it's like, well, I'm not the guy in charge making the calls here. You know what I mean? But they asked that question, we have $500,000 worth of equipment here, and we don't, hats off to the track crew. I mean, really, they did, they were dealt a bad hand earlier in the week. They had 5.5 inches of rain, and it turned in, they had the high winds earlier in the week. So it was one of those situations where, they did the best they could and, scraped the track off and, everything like that. But, a lot of the pullers, everybody had to pull on it. So it was one of those kind of situations, but still it was, hey, why don't we have somebody that, can do this, and, help out with this. And, and it's like, well, yeah, I agree with you, but unfortunately I'm not the guy making that call, so, but that was just kind of, and I was kind of thinking back to like when I went out to Rock Valley, how with the Outlaws, they're fortunate with Kevin Bauer because with his sled, you also get a track builder, where Kevin builds most of the Outlaw tracks where his sled's at, he's going to build that track kind of situation, so it kind of, works out very well for them. But yeah, I think that's probably something going to see down the road, I would imagine, to try to, to keep this thing, up and going here for these pullers. Cause like you say, you've got, very, $500,000, million, who knows, what people have invested in their stuff and, to run on something that you can, every week, that I don't know how that would all work with going into different places. Everybody's got their guy kind of thing. I don't know how you would, I'm sure that'd be some growing pains. What do you think?
No, there's going to be problems. And Jeremy, I don't want to cover for your sake, so I'll let you give your thoughts. But there's going to be problems because there are a whole lot of really proud local guys who take pride in building their tracks. And I will say that some of them do a fantastic job. Some of them aren't up with the times. 15 years ago they were. And I will tell you that I think farming is a great profession and I love it, but that's not necessarily always a bona fide, how to pack a track and get the track ready type of mentality. So, I think for the sake of the NTPA, oftentimes they have a built-in guy who could be there. Whether or not he is or isn't, I don't know, but he's been the one that's utilized at a lot of events. And Jim, he does a fantastic job at the events that he's at, and he knows what he's doing and how to get it packed. And, for the longest time, Dan and Mike and their group were often out on the road doing a lot of that. I don't know to what degree they are. And obviously there's a lot to be said about, each individual facility that you go to, what's the surface like? And, when you go to a Chapel Hill and you've got orange clay, how much different is that than the sand that you might find at one location or, the horse track at Goshen or wherever you are. So it's not an easy scenario, and whoever's in charge would have to really, really, truly hone in and know what they were doing.
Well, and I agree with both of you. I think that there needs to be something done for sure. Again, taking nothing away from any of the track crews out there. But we need to, given the investment, given the sponsorship dollars, given all of the things, we need to make sure that the playing field is equal, week to week, place to place. My thought on it, and again, you guys may agree or disagree with me, but, I think maybe they have a consortium, like, how all of our tech officials have to go through tech school. Maybe you send people to go to track building school. You take some people who are good track builders out to a central location, send promoters letters and say, okay, look, there's going to be these, track building schools on these days. Bring your guys, bring your people. We're going to go over how we want it done, how it needs to be. Just have some common parameters, have some, best practice sharing and that sort of thing on, how to get the playing field a little more even. Like that would be the thought that I would have. I mean, they do it really well now with different tech schools and things of that nature. When rules change, all the tech officials and all the people have to go to a particular location and get schooled and trained and learn on the new things. And I think maybe this would, benefit some of the track builders out there at some of these, promoters and venues that maybe aren't as hip to today's standards and the NTPA's rigid expectation for quality on how to build a track. Just my thought.
I think the other kind of element that's probably a little different this year, and maybe it's completely geographic, but we've had so much rain here.
Sure.
I'm just telling you, like we're we're in a situation here where we're just, our water table's full.
Yeah.
And, we got another 5.5 inches of rain last night, standing water everywhere. And that's a problem. So, for the person who may be tasked, it's still not going to be an easy scenario to roll into a facility that just got dumped on 10 inches over the course of 14 days and know what degree of moisture is going to be there and how that track's going to work. I think the other aspect of that whole scenario is how many sessions does the event have? I would guarantee you that for these places like Rockwell, Bowling Green, Toma, in those types of tracks that are going to have 5 sessions and you're going to pull on a track all afternoon, you got to have somebody. I just think you do. And that's not taking anything away, because I'll be honest with you, I've seen folks at Toma make miracle work out of that track up there. And I've seen folks at Bowling Green make miracle work out of their track when we've gotten dumped on with rain and
Right.
you think there's no chance we're going to have a session. And a couple hours later, we're screaming mods and semis down the track, so that this is not a discussion about any of the local members' ability, but more just synergy, like keeping everything the same and
Consistent.
knowing full well that when a competitor rolls in, their confidence is high on the surface that they're playing on.
For certain. Agreed.
And I would think everything down to, amount of rolls on the track, as far as, that all that goes into that, obviously different classes, it takes longer to put a track back together and everything. But yeah, I think it's just, just listening to some of the competitors, talk different things. And it just, it seems like that's been a high topic of concern. But like Miles says, with this year's weather, that of course brings it back to the top, so.
Right. And
This isn't a new topic. This has been a topic that's been on board.
Oh yeah. But I mean, with the weather this year, it's just been, now everybody's back, hey, well, let's revisit this,
Well,
and
I think that, to your all's point, I agree with everything you say, but I think that there needs to be a point of no return. Like if the ground is saturated before the event, just cancel it. I mean, I know we don't want to do that, and I understand that promoters don't want to do that, but what I'm understanding is a lot of them don't want to utilize rain dates either. You don't want to pull on Sunday. You don't want to keep everybody there. So if beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can't get to this track to the point where it's going to be, up to snuff, then I feel like you either, you fish or cut bait there. You just have to give it up and then try again next year. But again, I think that you could utilize rain dates. Like if it's a Friday, Saturday date and it rains Friday night and you cancel the whole session, but Sunday's going to be fine, hold them over, run them Sunday. Like, I understand you have to plan for that. I understand there has to be infrastructure in place, but I feel like, that's a possible scenario. If you can get, if Sunday looks great, but Friday looks horrible and Saturday's in the middle, then you pull Saturday, Sunday, or, you scrub Friday and you don't pull anybody. I just and I know that weekend at Toma where one track couldn't pull because it was, the 2-wheelers didn't get to hook at all for the first however many hooks. But I feel like, that was kind of a detriment. And Toma did a great job, later on in the weekend. But I feel like there needs to be just maybe a point of no return or okay, if it's a measurable 6 inches or whatever they decide it is, if you're going to get this much rain and we know that the dirt can't hold it, you scrap it.
Well, the difficulty, and I'll play the devil's advocate against you, Jeremy, on this side is it comes down to why are they putting the event on?
For sure. I get that.
They're putting the event on because they're fundraising for something.
Making money. Yes.
And if you put that on Sunday, your beer sales are down, your attendance is down, your food sales are down. You're going to lose half your crowd that are going to be church going folks. Like
volunteers,
yeah, all your people, not to mention all of your pullers that most of them are leaving and departing on Tuesday and Wednesday now for their events. They've already been at your facility for 4 days and they've got to commute back home. And right. Now they're all trying to figure out how to regroup and what they're going to do. And when they don't get to leave till Sunday night and get home till Monday night, and they have to be back on the road by Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday to go to their next sweep, that just completely kinks the whole scenario up. So, I like the idea, but I've also seen rain dates. I experienced a rain date there at Chapel Hill about a decade ago. And I can tell you that a Saturday night Chapel Hill crowd versus a Sunday afternoon Chapel Hill crowd are not comparable.
Understood. But Toma, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Toma and Bowling Green ran on Sunday for years, right?
Yes.
Already.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying, potential super nationals with 60 hooks in a class. But I mean, to your point, I agree. But I think in the past, those two events have run on Sunday regularly. So if they had to in a pinch, I feel like they could.
Sure.
But I totally understand where you're coming from. I get that.
Yeah, I want to say Bowling Green. The last would have been probably the 50th when they ran the finals there on Sunday would have been the
2016.
Because Toma, I remember years ago, used to run 2 sessions on Sunday. They ran a Sunday afternoon and a Sunday night session there for, when they started there, and ran that up through I want to say that was up through the early 2000s. I want to say that was.
Well, maybe if nothing else, you just look at the high-ranking super nationals, like those two, maybe Rockwell, what have you, Hutch, the bigger ones that just to make sure people are going to get to pull. Because I feel like the two-wheelers this year, like how many did they miss before they got their first hook?
Right. And how many miles they put on before they actually got the hook? Yeah,
absolutely.
So I heard that from quite a few folks, and thought it'd be an interesting topic to bring up here, and see what you guys thought about that. And like I say, it's kind of an ongoing situation where you kind of a lot of things with pulling kind of model and go the same way as drag racing, and where somebody comes in and takes hold of your track there early in the week, and they're pretty much running the show from when they come into town up through when everybody's gone, like you said earlier. And I think that's probably going to be something I would imagine you'd see not in the too distant future.
I think it's needed. I appreciate that idea. I really do. I think there's a lot to be said about it, and like I said, it's not personal. It's a business choice.
Not at all.
It's a business choice, and you gotta know and assure that every one of your facilities is going to be up to the standard.
And we all know the equipment's not getting any cheaper, so nothing's getting cheaper. So it's like let's get it to the point where But like you say, they were able to pull on Saturday or on Thursday night there, scraped it off, and were able to run, and saw a great show there on Thursday night. Went a little bit late into the night, but Scott Whitworth and Colin Ross there, Super Stock Open class. That was pretty exciting. Colin laid down one monster pass there about 380, and you're like, okay, well this one's in the bag. And Scott goes out there with that Field Forge John Deere and goes 383 for the win, and that was pretty impressive there. So Super Stock Open, although the numbers weren't real great over the weekend there, but it put on some really great shows, I thought. And then Colin coming away with his first Super Stock Open win on the NTPA side, that was also pretty neat to see. So that was I think one of the highlights there for the Super Stock Open class for the weekend. And then we saw Alan Kane pick up his second Grand National win there on Thursday night. Jacob Shepard laid down a beautiful run.
Monster.
Yes, early in the class, and kind of
361 or something, like crazy.
Yeah, and just held that for almost the whole show, and then all of a sudden I had Joe Ader sitting with me, and Joe made the comment that he says Alan's sitting back there watching all this, and and sure enough he came out and everything was set perfectly on that truck, and made a great pass for the win. And that was one thing about this event. We had a lot of great finishes all through the weekend, and it was really exciting to watch. I watch Dan Hazley, and
we got to talk about Red Hot.
Yes.
Red Hot.
Yes, that was
awesome. Last hook in the class.
Old truck, old 1988 Ranger, and there comes the Red Hot, and a great class of 4-wheel drives. I think there was 35 of them or so, and you're watching them, and they're working all that same part of the track, and then all of a sudden, boom, there he goes, Red Hot for the win, and the walk-off win there. That was pretty cool. And Adam Bauer on Thursday night with the mini class laid down another monster pass, and then I don't know about you guys, but that points championship in the light mod class is going to be one to watch here as they.
No,
as
but
they
we've
kind of
said that. We've been talking about it all season.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's heating up now. I mean,
Yeah.
RJ and Wayne
RJ.
Sullivan. Yes. That's going to be one to watch here as they go into the Enderley, for that championship, and there'll be a winner take all kind of deal, and but that light class put on a great show there, and that was Thursday night's program. And then moving on into Friday, we saw the Super Farms were out on Friday. Colin Ross picked up the win there in the Super Stock Open class. So going into this coming week, or Bowling Green weekend here, he's the Super Stock Diesel class runs this weekend in Napoleon, but the Open class will be in Bowling Green for their championship again, and that'll be interesting to see how that'll all work out there. As Collins now made 5 passes, talking to him there after the event in Rockwell, and they've made 5 passes and they haven't had to pull the head off. So he says I think we're heading in the right direction. So that's I know a lot of folks are watching that. And what'd you guys think of that Super Stock Diesel class here this weekend? I thought it, the numbers have kind of turning around here, and they're getting pretty solid again, and everybody's starting to make passes, and we just need the King of Smoke back out.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say it was fun to watch Jason Schultz, be there with his dad to experience, a solid podium there. I mean, I think they all knew that Colin Ross was going to, win the class right before he even hooked. But that tractor went A to B, and I know Jason was happy, and it was a neat experience and really fun to watch. On the live stream, I enjoyed that a lot. But I think the class was, fun to watch as well, and I enjoyed the Unlimiteds too. I enjoyed all of it, really.
Yeah.
And I think we would be remiss if we don't talk about Kelly Nichols again.
Yes.
Yes. How about that? Like, the ladies figured it out. Like, she's on her season.
They got something going.
Leading the points.
1 and 2, right? Aren't they 1 and 2?
Yeah. Yep. 1, 2 in points, and guys, Lance Little.
Yeah.
Lance Little in the winner's circle. I mean, when we saw Brandon come on back, and Brandon was going to drive the X tractor, it's like he laid down a monster, and it was like, okay, well, I think that might be it. And Lance come down through there, and it was awesome. I thought the Pro Stock classes this weekend were second to none. I mean, they were really just watching Tim Kaine win there, on inching closer and closer to Larry Shope's all-time wins there. He's only got 3, I think, more to go to tie Larry. And it's going to be interesting to see, second week in a row he's won an event. But Lance Little, I mean, it's been 10 years. I think we figured out Hutchison 2015 was his last NTPA Grand National win. So that was
you and Jason laugh and giggle.
Oh,
during that live stream, with each one of them, and he was predicting, and you were predicting, and I don't remember which one of you said, I think this one's going to go 383 or something like that, or 380 something. And
we were waiting for that. Yeah, it didn't happen the night before, but then the next night they, Matt Holland, what a great run he laid down, and it was just really from top to bottom, a great class watching, some different guys. And, then you got Brandon Simon right there in the mix, and, Brett Meyer right there once again. But yeah, no, I thought the Pro Stock classes this weekend were just were great. Tough Break award got to go to Rob Foster. Big monster win there on Friday afternoon, but he hurt the engine, dropped the valve in it, and he had already that night, I think it was, he was already to the Illinois line heading to get that thing fixed. And he had texted and says, yeah, we're already on our way to out to Sonny's and get this thing fixed. And so they're hoping to make it in Napoleon this week. But yeah, that would have been interesting there with the Red Hot and Simply Red, sure, as that would have finished out. But unfortunately, Rob had to scratch there for the Saturday night show. But
what do you guys think of Super Farm? I mean, Schulte has a great weekend in Brandenburg, another great weekend in Rockwell. Shavink's in the mix. Like, I feel like we're narrowing it down to maybe 3 or 4 there. You got Ferris and Schulte and you got Shavink and maybe Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, he's
in the mix now.
yeah, and Schulte was an interesting one too because he was one that he had won since 14.
Yeah, I was
on
say,
the Grand National circuit
painfully
there.
close. I think he was how many seconds he had, but
Yeah,
they've got that tractor figured out too. So I think it's time now to hit the gas and watch these point standings these chases sort of come into fruition. It's going to be fun to watch, and the 4-wheel drives are tightening up as well. And I think it's going to be a great finish to the season. I think traditionally we're kind of halfway there now, or getting close to halfway. So before you know it, we crown the champions at the Enderley.
yep. Brandon Simon, winning a mod hook. Tommy Owens, Mr. Rockwell. I mean, I think this was win number 4 or 5 for Tommy and Rockwell. Is that tractor always hooks up very well there. Colt Whitworth sweeping the light supers with 2 different tractors. That was kind of an interesting story there. Good to see Brandon Phillips have a good run. And then, did you guys see that? So Brandon Phillips is leading the class, and they're trying to get Colt Whitworth going, and Brandon's underneath the tractor helping out, trying to get him. And then Colton goes out and beats him.
Right.
That was, you look underneath the tractor, and there he is. Brandon's right there, first one to help. And, that's so cool with this sport that you don't see in a lot of other sports,
That's the perspective of Brandon, though, too. I mean, I saw the interview from Thursday night, and he was involved in building that track, and peeling the layers off the track and doing the things that he did. So, kudos to him for having his heart and his mind in the right spot, and putting his competitive nature in the game as well, but also realizing, hey, if I'm going to win, I want to win against the best and let Colton make his pass. And, there's a lot of storylines from out there. Obviously, think about what was going on the other side of the river. Some pretty awesome competition in Missouri and Kansas with our friends from the Outlaws. Cole Zajac with a 1-2 sweep out there in the 2-wheel drive in McLouth, and those turbines, the pesky turbines, go 1-2 again in that class out there with Barron's winning and Kaysen coming back and getting second there with the Petch family, and that was pretty awesome. But they were in Mercer, several of those classes. I know the 2-wheelers were in Mercer the night before, and Cole won there as well. So he had a pretty good weekend with that Gunsmoke truck, and the 2-step truck. He was a little bit further down there on Friday night, but pretty awesome competition happening out there. And their points races are in the meat and potatoes of it all as well. So
yeah, they got Wisner coming up here a couple weeks, and that McLouth, Kansas, I'd heard, people had told me about. That's on the bucket list. I've never been to a pull in Kansas, and I think I got to go out and check that out, because they said that's a pretty awesome pull. I've never had the chance to go out there, but yeah, they were saying very good things about that pull. And it's kind of one that it goes Outlaws, it goes PPL Western Series. It kind of goes back and forth, doesn't it?
I think so. I think that's fair. They had a pretty busy weekend with everything they had going on the schedule. I think they were in Nebraska for a hook, and then they were in Missouri and Kansas and Iowa all this weekend with some different classes running, and certainly busy times for everybody. We've talked about that and kind of alluded to that and highlighted that that's kind of what's coming. And I think this week it's De Leon, Texas, for some of them, and then Washington, Missouri, an event I got to go to and announce a few years. Well, it's been 10 years ago now, or more, 20 years ago almost, that I was there and did that event with Outlaws. So that's a neat facility. And then they have some of their state fair stuff. Iowa State Fair falls in there for some of them to have to hook on before they make the trip to Wisner. So
that's the
next 10-day stretch really for the folks from the Outlaws is going to be just an absolute ball buster. So wish them all very well, and hope everybody can find the tough phase of their point season to be all right for them. On the PPL side, Mount Sterling was Friday night, and
claimed another champion, right?
Yep.
Bob Gansmer, champion there in the unlimited super class. So congratulations to them guys. And, they had a toter failure there. They weren't able to make it to Rockwell, but they were able to make it to Mount Sterling. So that was good.
Yeah, they've been they've been kind of with Hodem kind of coming on late. He was sort of out of it after the first couple of hooks, and then he sort of rallied a little bit late to get back into it. And there was several tractors kind of in contention there. So Bob gets the win, and they Chad Mayhill with a 2-wheel drive win. A pretty impressive deal there as he is really a tough out as it is, and there were. You think about just general competition. Josh Miley was the winner of the Super Farm class as well, and the mod tractors. Guess who?
Yeah. More miles on him, but he did it again, right? He 2 victories and probably 800 miles, and then came on back to Rockwell for Saturday night, and only a couple hours from home, so might as well come back on over and jump on a pro stock as well. So
yeah,
that's
Dylan and Tom made that run. They all headed south there, so
that's amazing to me. Is just how Brandon and RJ, both of them, can. It doesn't matter what vehicle, whether you're jumping in Willie Make It, the modified, the light modified, the semi. Just man, that is And I asked them guys about that. How is you just kind of just do what you got to do, but it's just got to be the mindset to hey, okay, I'm in the semi right now. I got to do this, and this, and I remember RJ saying the clutch was over here, opposite of this with the pro stocks, and it's just wow, it's a good problem to have, I guess, but that's got to be just unbelievable to concentration wise.
Well, you think about that. I mean, obviously, we can talk about RJ from many perspectives and Brandon from many perspectives, but over the course of the last 2 years, we've seen RJ drive a light mod, a 2-wheeler, a pro stock, a semi, a 4-wheeler,
and win.
And win in each of those divisions. Pretty amazing. And Brandon, not to be outdone by any means at all, he just doesn't drive the light mod or the 4-wheel drive, or he'd probably win in them.
Right.
He doesn't drive the semi, or he'd probably win in it. But he's primarily stuck, focused to the pro stock and to the mod, and then he might jump in a 2-wheeler occasionally here or there. But those boys are doing an amazing job, and each one of their pieces is top notch and proven. So can only imagine what Bowling Green's going to look like for them.
Oh, it's got to be crazy. I mean, here at Rockwell, I think they had 3 rigs full of stuff, and what do you guys think about with RJ looking for more venues for his events? That's been the last couple of weeks there. He made the post about having some more events. What's your thoughts on that?
I'd love to see that happen, but before we go there, we have to talk about, my thought finishing on Brandon here is, 8 events, 6 wins, 2 seconds.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. That's a good summer by any stretch of the imagination. That's a good summer.
You're not really giving him credit because you're only talking about one organization.
I was going to say you got PPL to look at too. We're what do we got? 1, 2, 3. What's he got? 4, 5 wins over there?
6.
So
6 wins with PPL.
6 wins with PPL in 2 seconds.
Yeah. So I mean that's.
And then I haven't looked at how many he's done on the NTBA side. But
that's just,
I think
I'm looking forward to him running Bowling Green with the mod. We talked about that. So.
Yeah. Agreed. But I think to your point, what RJ did and what they were able to do in Farley opened a lot of eyes. And I think that there will be, some people who are very interested in trying to make that happen. Like I happened to look at that thread, and there were a few of those areas that I thought might be of interest. But I think the pictures that Chance McGrath was posting, I don't know if you saw the venues up there where he is in,
yes,
up there in New Brunswick. Let's go. Let's watch.
Well, that gets you your coast to coast. You know what I mean? That gets you where you where you want to go. You don't want to be in this this Midwest area. You want to be spread this thing out and see where it goes. And
agreed. And
I think that's what RJ was kind of looking at.
I think you're going to see it. Like I could be totally off base, but it would not surprise me at all to see 3 or 4 in 3 or 4 very distinct, different regions of the United States which would be just great because then you get some more, people who can't travel all the way to Farley, but they could probably go here, and I guess eventually it'd be good to see some like a Four Corners kind of thing, maybe each section of the United States, cut a swath from each corner and then, put it on. I think it would be great.
Yeah, me being a former Northeasterner, there isn't much going on out there anymore, so that would be, and there's a lot of equipment out there.
But is it practical to think that you could replicate that purse 4 times? See, I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know
if that's going to happen.
Well, the question is do the pullers want to build the purse like that?
Right.
I could see it somewhere being where RJ says, okay, it's a $7,500 buy-in and that gets you 4 events, and so the $7,500 buy-in gets you 4 events and we're going to pay, we're going to categorically call it, $1,500, $2,000, that's $3,500, $2,000, however he draws that across there. And then maybe he pays, 15 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand. And then if you do the big one at the end, maybe it's 50 to win. And maybe it's more than that. I don't know, but
or maybe you step it up to that. Yeah. Maybe you have like tiered where, each event is a little bit more, prestigious in terms of purse. I think RJ's got a good, strong head on his shoulders. He's obviously figured it out. He knows what he's doing in terms of promotion. I mean, that was an unbelievable event. And I was jealous I didn't get to go, but maybe someday I will. But
it was pretty fantastic. I'm not going to lie to you. And then, just to reiterate on Brandon's sake, he's got 3 wins on the NTPA Grand National side to his credit already in the modified division, and a 3rd place from Rockwell. So a win in Rockwell, a win in Toma, a win in Hutch. There's 3 more wins to his total to make it 9.
9.
Yeah, I think we're comfortably. He's going to get to that 12-ish. I would have to say easily here throughout. He's got 2 this weekend in Hillsboro, so there's 2 more shots, and then of course we got Bowling Green coming up, Sandwich. So yeah, there's lots of potential there for.
Dan, go back here with me, but he won at the farm show,
right?
And he won at the Pullers Championship,
and then and then go back. I mean, he had that streak at the farm show and the Mac Trailer show, and he's piling them up. He's for sure piling them up.
Good.
Someday when I get this website back up and going here, I'll be able to see all that. But still on tidying things up there and getting that all taken care of. And
I've had more people ask me about that than
I know.
Hey, I don't know
it's going to be back up. Well, I don't know.
I know. I had quite a few people this weekend kind of harass me about it, and I thought you said April, and I know. It's like, how you can't usually say you say a date. You know how they always say, you never tell the wife what time you're going to be home. That kind of thing. So because if you say 5 o'clock and you end up at 6 o'clock, then you're in trouble there. So they always say just. But yeah, I learned my lesson there. But I thought we'd be but we're close, so I'm very happy with that. So, so did you guys have a chance to check out ESPN 2 this weekend?
Yes,
the show on ESPN 2.
But it was on Ocho for me. Like I turned it on 2, but it showed 8. Like it said the Ocho up in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah,
I don't know. We finished up the show there and went and we did a quick interview with Lance Little and Donnie Bauer real quick. And by the time we got to the back to see a TV, it was about half over there, but didn't get to see too much of it. But that was good. That was
a great job. It was fun to watch for sure, and I love the camera angles. I thought some of the commercials, like Bowling Green had a commercial in there, which was
they should have had 2 of them, right? Did they have? Okay.
I
didn't.
It was really.
Yeah,
really
I'm looking forward to how moving forward with that, how that's going to go, and.
Now, have you taped any more since that time, or is this the?
Nope, that was just the one. That was the big one. There was ESPN. They're supposed to show that, I guess, a few different times. I guess so. We'll keep everybody informed because I'd like to watch the whole show. I didn't get to see the whole show there, but just to see how everything came out. And
it was well done. Like, I know Kendall had a lot to do with that, and she and I talked in Brandenburg, but that was great. Like they had drone footage and lots of different angles and high edits, and it was really really good. And the angle that which they were having you do the driver interviews, kind of up above you over the top, I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah, the boom there, they use that boom camera or whatever to get a lot of that stuff. And I actually got to give a shout out to my guests this weekend. We had how good was that to see?
It was great.
See Chuck
awesome.
Knapp come out, and Chuck wasn't actually going to do it, and Dee talked him into it. So we got to thank Dee for helping out with that, because Chuck was kind of on the same with Mark Peisig. Actually, one of the boys was supposed to help out, and then Mark all of a sudden shows up. So I was like, oh, okay, all right, and because the boys they. That mini rod there, he took a wild ride there on
for sure.
Friday. Was it Friday night he took? But yeah, that was a wild one there. But, Joe Ader was able to join us. Dennis Schrammick. We had quite a few folks come out and spend some time with us, and that was pretty neat. And
I thought your visit with Ned Walliser was a good one as well.
Yeah, I forgot about Ned. Yes, yeah, Ned was there, and always good to talk history with Ned and see what they've got down the pike coming up there down the pike and going. So. Yeah, lots. Guys, we're almost into that stretch run here. I think this is about it, isn't it? We got 1 month about to go, and we're going to be crowning all our champions, and then we'll be like, well, that was it.
Now what do we talk about?
Yeah, but
I kind of look forward to that period of having a couple of weekends home, though, between sheep showing and pulling.
Yes, I do.
I know you, Dan, you're just pulling. I'm sheep showing. Jeremy, you're just pulling. But I told somebody here at work today, I just got to get through the next 3 weekends, and then.
Good. And I had a weekend off. Like I didn't go anywhere this past weekend. I made pickles and watched pulling, and that was. And I shampooed. I shampooed carpets and made pickles and watched pulling. And
nothing wrong with that, pal. I'll take that in a heartbeat.
But I'm eager to I get back on the road soon. Get to see you guys up in Bowling Green, hopefully, and spend a week. I haven't been up there since 2021, so I'm excited to get back. I was always doing kind of horsepower and horse country here, but that's not happening this year. So I'm going to take a well-deserved trip back up to northwestern Ohio, and I'm excited to get back up to the Field of Dreams. No doubt about it.
I don't know about you, Miles, but I'm that Hall of Fame. I just every year I look forward to that Hall of Fame at Bowling Green. It's just such a cool deal they do up there, and it just it's pretty darn awesome.
So we want to make sure we reach out to everybody again. If you're watching this and you'll be at Bowling Green, come be with Dan and I Saturday morning, 10 a.m. for the Rusty Gears or Rusty Tailgate.
Tailgate, that's it.
And then after the Rusty Tailgate party, we will have the 2025 Hall of Fame induction. We are not going to reveal who is being inducted right now, but Dan and I were informed this past week about who the inductees are, and excited for that. So it's going to be a neat deal, and he and I, this will be our 4th year, I believe, getting to be able to host
something like that. Yeah,
it's the 4th year getting to be able to host that whole endeavor, and it's become something that really just kind of puts the cherry on top of our Bowling Green experience. So getting to see some of the legends, getting to talk pulling with them, and then also getting to visit with the Hall of Fame families. I mean, obviously last year one of the highlights was seeing Ann Heilman and getting a chance to talk to her and visit with her a little bit, and their family. So
and learning some of the stories too. Like the gentleman last year. You kind of read about it, but then it's like, oh, then he starts telling stories, and that's the part that I love. That you really.
There was a story about Dad that
yes.
That kept me on stitches there for a little while. So,
some great stuff there, guys. And of course, the lineups for Napoleon, head on over to fullpull.us. So check out the lineup for Napoleon. That'll be, I believe that's already posted. So head on over there, check that out. And of course, Full Pull Live, all kinds of live streaming coming up, over 60 events here in August, and going to kick up tomorrow night, NTPA Region 2 competition from Michigan. So that'll start off another busy weekend of pulling action. So, lots going on, and make sure you check it out.
Well, thanks for supporting me this week and continuing to adapt with my schedule and allow me to meet with you guys when we can, as it's just
It's always
right
fun.
now it's just crazy. So not to say that it doesn't ever get crazy. It's not crazy ever, but that's just the nature of kind of the chosen path for me. But right now we just got to get through this state fair and let my little girl shoot for some goals and some dreams up there. Then we'll have some more fun pulling the next 2 weeks after that.
Absolutely. Good luck with the state fair, and hope everything goes well up there, and bring back all them awards with you.
Thank you, Pat.
Safe travels to Hillsboro this weekend, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, always a highlight for me every year going up there, Don Slama's pull, and happy to see all the folks up there again, and always a good time. John Strandley, get to work with John over the weekend, and yeah, Stacy Butson will be up there for sure as well. So you get to see some guys who don't normally get to see a lot. So yeah, that's always a lot of fun. So can't wait to get up there and have some fun.
Well, thanks as always to everybody for watching, and send us your suggestions, and thank you for your viewership, and let's go pulling.
Yes, sounds good, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you.